Silver bells.
Ding-a-ling.
I knew you was going to say ding-a-ling. Hey, y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
Midweek.
And it's almost the middle of the week. It is the middle of the week. We're doing good.
I'm Santa's favorite hoe.
She's Heather. And I'm Dylan.
I think they know by now.
Here we are.
They knew when I said Santa's favorite hoe.
You know, it's funny how quickly Thanksgiving's forgotten. It's almost like a speed bump to Christmas to get past. And then we can get in the true holiday spirit.
We can get into the meat of it.
Yes.
We can wallow around in a mincemeat pie.
Oh, baby. So me and Heather are trying to get festive, right? Festivus for the rest of us.
I'm festive AF, bro.
You are. Santa's slutty little helper.
It's true. The other day, I was pretending to be a naughty elf. No, we were not, and it was not a sexual situation. But I kept trying to make everything like dirty.
Yeah.
Like around Christmas, and you were just like, stop.
Yeah. So you remember some of the things you were saying? We were talking about eggnog. Yeah. We were talking about the holiday eats and stuff, and you was like, well, yeah. I'd like to lick your candy cane. And
I didn't say that.
It went downhill. Yeah. It was like, I want to taste your big old holiday sausage.
I didn't say that either. You're not good at this.
No, but we're watching Christmas movies. We're doing all the classics, Die Hard, A Christmas Story, things of that nature. Elf, which actually I forgot how goofy Elf was.
Yeah, I always forget that Dylan's a cotton-headed ninny muggins.
Don't say that 3 times fast. And so this evening, right before we started recording, we were watching Home Alone 2 because honestly, I couldn't.
That's an interesting choice for you, Dylan. I made some shrimp and grits, which, by the way, chef's kiss. I have to pat myself on the back. I'm an excellent cook.
It was pretty good.
Right?
It
was pretty good.
It might be the best shrimp and grits I've ever had in my life.
It was good. Okay, I'm like I said, I'm an excellent cook. I'm
And
not confident in a lot of things, but my culinary skills, my home chef skills, I'm good. So I got this hearty bowl of shrimp and grits. It is delicious, right?
It's very savory.
And you're like, yeah, we're eating in the living room. I know, because I got all my craft shit on the table.
I like eating in the living room. It's like you're living on the edge.
So we're like those classy people. We're like, eating in the living room.
We're eating on the new furniture, y'all.
And then you turned on Home Alone 2. I was like, what an interesting choice, Dylan.
Well, no.
You're like, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, the more I thought about it, I couldn't remember anything about the movie.
I remember vague moments. I knew he lost his shorts in the pool at the Plaza Hotel because as a kid I remember being like, oh no.
And of course he's lost in New York. I'm sure people out there know. Some people know. But we were also wondering, we were talking about Kevin's parents. They're on. It's criminal how neglectful they are of this poor child.
They should be in jail.
Where is the CPS, the Child Protective Services? Some people.
It's a classist issue here.
It's a classist. They never ever bring in the Department of Social Services on this family.
These rich people, yeah.
Yeah, and this is a second time.
I bet if Kevin McAllister's family lived in a trailer park, CPS would done been there.
They would have removed.
Kevin would have been foster care. He'd be lost from foster care in Home Alone 2.
They would have removed him from the home, from the trailer.
Yes.
And all custodial parents and adults that reside in the household would have to give a clean urine sample before they got Kevin back.
Yes.
And this is true.
It's true. Also, I noticed, having not seen this movie in like 30 years, I couldn't decide if Joe Pesci is very short or Daniel Stern is very tall. And you said you think it's a combination of both.
I think it's a little bit of both.
But they're such an odd couple because they were like walking down the New York City sidewalk and Joe Pesci comes up to like Daniel Stern's waist.
And I'm pretty sure that Daniel Stern was brought in very late in the project. They had someone else on board who all of a sudden couldn't do it, if I'm not mistaken.
It couldn't be a wet bandit?
Could be one of the wet bandits. And then I think Daniel...
Or a sticky bandit, part 2.
I think Daniel Stern was a great addition to the movie.
I think Daniel Stern's a very underrated character actor because he's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's very expressive face.
He does, yeah.
He's certainly a character, right? He's a presence. And I think I think he's pretty awesome. So yeah, oh my gosh, I feel so holiday right now.
That's good.
I'm like a holiday sauce.
A sauce?
Yeah,
Okay.
like a hollandaise. Well, isn't that how you
It's
say
a
it?
hollandaise.
Oh.
We talk about this all the time, a hollandaise. What is a hollandaise sauce?
It's very creamy.
Why do you make everything so gross?
I just said creamy.
You have a
Hey.
knack for just really grossing me out.
Oh, this
constantly
coming from
with
the-
your adjectives.
The slutty elf.
You know, the slutty elf is funny. Okay, she was saying some funny shit.
Look, I don't think the word creamy is gross. I think it's a really good.
But it's gross when you say it.
What when I say creamy?
Now, when Gordon Ramsay says creamy, it's not gross. But when you say it, it's gross.
It's like fuck off. It's not creamy.
Yes, and I'm like, make that risotto again, bitch. Okay. Are you ready to get into some true crime, some news, Dylan?
Yes, that's why we're here.
All right, so let's get started with this. A case that has haunted me all these years is finally going to trial. Maggie or Megan Boswell, if you remember this case, she's accused of killing her toddler daughter, Evelyn Boswell, back in March of 2020.
I cannot believe this hasn't gone to trial.
The child was found on a family member's property back in 2020 after an Amber Alert and widespread search efforts were released. And then since her arrest, prosecutors have indicted Boswell on a bunch of charges, including 2 felony murder charges, and they've recently added a first-degree murder charge. So the big issue, I guess, moving forward, you know, since it's been fucking 4 years, we're finally getting her to trial. They will begin jury selection for the trial on December 16th. And the trial is supposed to take place in February. There have been multiple issues with this. Her initial attorney, they had problems, and I guess he decided she fired him, and so he left the case. So she had to get new lawyers. And then there's been issues about whether there should be a change of venue from Sullivan County, Tennessee.
Oh, well, I guess that's a valid point on if the defense was to raise that concern. And honestly, nowadays, I've heard this more than once lately. You can go ahead and on any trial basically add 2 years onto it because of COVID. I mean,
that's true.
That really
this happened just before COVID hit.
Yeah, and that really just the whole system, not just the judicial system, ground to a halt for literally 12 to 18 months. So,
well, Gene Scott, the attorney for Maggie or Megan Boswell, did ask for a change of venue. Judge Goodwin, who is overseeing this case, decided that there had to be an attempt made to find an impartial jury in Sullivan County first.
Okay. And that's tricky though. People can say, "Oh, I don't know," but they could be like very partial. You know what I mean?
Well, with a jury trial, that's sometimes the risk we take.
Yeah, especially in this
with
day
our
and
justice
age.
system.
This day and age of sensationalized.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they're banking on, it's been 4 years. Maybe it's a case that's kind of been forgotten by many. And, there are folks who don't really follow news like the rest of us.
That's true. That's true. I
I know people who literally never read a newspaper, don't turn on the news. They don't know shit about what's going on anywhere, not even in their own town.
Yeah, even locally before we left Western North Carolina, there had been a couple of pretty significant cases, highly publicized, that involved a toddler or a little one that led to their death, and people had very strong feelings right around the time when it happened. But I'm sure, if you asked them 4 years later, they probably wouldn't even remember what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Well, Boswell has been in custody since her arrest back in spring of 2020. And she was also arrested at first for making alleged false reports. I'm sure people who are familiar with the case remember she said the child was with her mother, with, her grandmother.
Mother and her boyfriend.
And that was a whole thing. And then she was with her father, who was in the military. There were just multiple lies told.
Wasn't the mother and the or grandmother and boyfriend in like a stolen vehicle or something? I mean, it was just everywhere.
Well, it was
everywhere you turned was another.
Yeah, Megan's boyfriend at the time was supposedly selling them a car. They took off in the car. Then it was reported stolen. I mean, it really was just kind of one thing after another with this case.
Now, is this the case where the little one's remains was found in a shed on the property with all of her belongings? Why?
It was horrific.
You know, I know we have to go through the process, but I mean, come on. I mean, you know, shit. You obviously killed that little one. I mean, I don't think there's any way around it. Be it you abused the child until you happen to go too far and kill, whatever, pure neglect or just malicious intent, first-degree murder. Does it even matter? That poor baby. I mean, this is one of the ones that just haunts you.
Dude, this case roped me in from the beginning, and I've tried to keep up on details even over these few years.
And there was a couple there too. There was another case.
Because it's just so heartbreaking. And this little baby, she was the cutest thing. And I don't know, it's very sad. Very sad.
I wish I could have got her.
A lot of people do. I mean, there's so many people out there who are like, I would have taken this baby in a heartbeat.
If you didn't want the kid, there's plenty of loving families that did.
Well, there's never a reason to do this. Now, Dylan, speaking of children, this is something that is a little, I guess, old, dated news by now, but we didn't talk about it. We didn't do a news recap at the time, but we have to talk about this. Susan Smith was denied parole 30 years after drowning her sons.
You know, this was a long time ago.
1994.
And what kind of blew me away is the people that were aware, old enough to be paying attention at that time. This really was seared into your memory. The details, the aftermath.
We covered this case. It's been some years ago.
Right.
I mean, we are over 500 episodes in. Can you believe it?
No, I can't.
500 episodes.
We're over 5 now?
Oh, yeah. I think this is like maybe 503.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, Mountain Murders. And the people that were aware and paying attention then, this was such a big deal. And almost 100% of the people have very strong negative feelings against Susan Smith because we remember her on TV pleading for her children to be brought back, her blaming a community that actually,
blaming a black man and causing extreme racial tensions in this very small southern community.
Yes. A whole community paid for this woman's lies. Her poor, and just the details, her standing there watching the car slowly sink as her little ones are like screaming and mommy, help me.
She wanted to get with some dude who didn't really want her.
And,
I mean, I just think she's gross. She's a gross person.
Right. Yes.
Like everything about her to me is disgusting.
The father wanted the kids. Just let him have the kids.
She's just an old slut.
So, but this was a very long time ago. And there are people now, even I just noticed in our Discord James was like, I don't remember this. What is this case? I don't know of it. And then other people were trying to explain it to him. And he's like, oh, my God, she's a really big piece of shit. So, yes, she is a monster. This is one of the most horrific stories I've ever heard of to this day in true crime.
Well, she was convicted of killing her 2 children in 1994. She strapped them into their car seats, drove the car into the lake, and let her kids drown.
And stood there for minutes and minutes watching the car slowly
happen,
sink.
And then blamed it on she was carjacked by this boogeyman.
The shaggy-haired black man.
This black man, knowing the whole damn time she was just a liar who wanted to get rid of her kids because she was having an affair with some guy who didn't want kids and really didn't want her. And she thought if she got rid of her kids, he would be with her because she's a gross, needy bitch.
That's a great description.
Yeah, I don't care to slut shame her. I think she's a disgusting, disgusting human being. So she killed her 2 children. She was denied parole on Wednesday, November 20th. So like I said, this is a little dated. Susan appeared before the parole board saying, quote, I know what I did was horrible.
I don't think she'll ever get out. I don't think. I think as long as people on the parole board remember this case, I don't think she'll ever get out, and she doesn't deserve to.
She also added, I'm a Christian and God is a big part of my life, and I know he's forgiven me, and I know that it is by his grace and mercy, and I just ask that you show that same kind of mercy as well.
And now you have some
and I'm like, bitch, look, you better be praying. You better hope you're forgiven, because you a fucking bitch. You deserve to burn in hell. You deserve everything bad that happens to you, and I honestly feel like you should have got the death penalty. And don't you exploit your Christian faith like, oh, I've been forgiven, and try to use that to your advantage. She's a manipulator.
Your alleged Christian
You didn't show
faith.
your kids any mercy.
No, killing your own children's got to be one of the most horrible things a human can do. But you have some other valid points as to why she doesn't deserve parole. It's not just the crime she committed.
Dude, she's been in nothing but trouble since she's been in prison. She's had multiple infractions, sleeping with guards. I mean, just all kinds of crazy shit. She's been nothing but problematic. So she's not been rehabilitated. She's not changed her ways. She's not a model prisoner.
She's still a piece of shit.
She's still just a big piece of shit.
She's a fucking shitbird.
So good for her. I hope your ass rots in a cell.
The only thing I'm sad about is that you've lived this long.
I'm sad somebody hadn't shanked you in the cafeteria with a fruit cocktail lid off a metal can.
Dig your eye out with a dull spoon.
Yeah. Man, fuck Susan Smith. I want to drive to that prison and visit her just to tell her she's a bitch.
Feel like your visitor's
yeah, I have a
here.
visitor, and I'll be like, you fucking bitch.
And just leave.
And then, like, at her, and then walk away. I crop dust you, bitch. I fart in your general direction. I'm an adult. I'm very mature. That's how I feel about her. She brings out this very specific rage inside of me.
I see. It's a very pooty rage.
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot else I can do. I could get her with a good silent and deadly one. Now, Dylan, we have to talk about this because it has been such a roller coaster story. I mean, just craziness. Sarah Boone was convicted of second-degree murder for zipping her boyfriend inside a suitcase and leaving him to die.
I think this woman's a monster. I seriously, she got life.
She got life in prison.
Yeah. Look, you know, she tried to play the abused spouse or whatever you want to call it. A very serious position to be in. She was scared for her own safety, all this stuff. But here's the thing. The guy's incapacitated. And whatever drunken goofiness y'all were getting into, as far as, I don't know, I guess they were kind of... Was the claim that they were... Okay.
If you'll stop talking... you
you
just love to hear the sound of your own voice.
No, I do not. It's not true.
Sit over there and be creamy. Stay creamy.
I'm going to keep it creamy with you.
Okay. Part of keeping it creamy with me is just being quiet for a minute. Shh. Shh. Okay? Silence is golden for just a moment. And I'll tell you what happened.
Okay.
So Sarah Boone, shut up, was convicted. You know, people are like, you mean to Dylan? Do you... What if you had to put up with this man all the time?
I deserve it.
He does not come with an off button.
Off air, I do deserve it. And that's why sometimes she's like, was I too mean to you? I was like, people don't know what you deal with.
They don't. You drive me fucking crazy.
Okay.
You get me wound up.
But I'm going to be quiet now.
Please. You never stop talking. Okay. So Sarah Boone was convicted of second-degree murder for the death of Jorge Torres Jr. He was found inside this suitcase inside the couple's shared apartment on the morning of February 24th of 2020. In a series of interviews at the scene and the next day, according to Orange County Sheriff's Office, Boone told investigators that Torres had willingly gotten into the suitcase while they were playing a drunken game of hide and seek.
Okay.
I can honestly say, in all of my 187 years on this planet, because I'm basically a fossil at this point, I have never played drunken hide and go seek. Have you?
No.
Hide and seek? I've never.
Well, you don't have to worry about me getting into a suitcase and zipping myself up.
I don't have a big enough suitcase for you.
I feel like she had to zip him into the suitcase. So therefore, how?
had to.
How is it even
I
hide
just
and
don't even
seek?
know how this man could get in. How do you fit in an adult person fit in a suitcase?
Look, he's got to be, I'm going to guess,
He must have been very
a little
limber and maybe he did yoga.
he's a little flexible guy, I'm going to guess.
Very stiff. I could never. I don't think you could either with your knees.
He could be
Not
a
very
great,
bending.
we've talked before about who we would be on the high screw. He'd be a great grease man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So key evidence in the case included 2 videos that were found on Boone's phone that were recorded while her boyfriend was in the suitcase. The videos show the victim begging to be let out, and Boone is laughing and taunting him. She told police she went to bed shortly after the videos were taken and fell asleep, leaving him inside this luggage. She's a monster.
So they're drunk, they're carrying on. They think it's going to be funny with the suitcase or whatever. But it sounds to me like at some point it become very uncomfortable for him being in this cramped position, all that. And now he just wants to be let out. And I forgot about the video. That's the part I was forgetting. How they knew exactly about him pleading, please, I can't breathe, just let me out. And her making fun of him, basically. So it's kind of hard for her to turn around, and she tried to paint it like she was afraid that he'd be really mad when he got out.
Well, who wouldn't be?
But
I think a normal person would be angry as hell if you shove him in a suitcase and would let him out.
that doesn't carry water for me, because if you even do think, oh gosh, went way too far, he might fucking hit me or something when he gets out. Call somebody, get somebody over there, whatever. Do anything but just leave the guy in the damn suitcase.
Boone's attorney had filed an intent to use battered spouse syndrome as a defense in the case and cited years of domestic abuse and arrests that it seems like maybe have been on both sides of the couple's relationship. But days before trial, she was offered a plea deal from prosecutors that would have sent her to prison for only 15 years if she pled guilty to manslaughter. And she denied she didn't want to take the plea deal. So now she's got life in prison.
Wow. On second-degree murder charge.
Yep.
Wow.
Craziness, huh?
Dude, she could have been out in 7 or 8 on
That case is just so crazy to me. It blows my mind.
It's very strange. The first time I heard it, I was like, what? What in the world has happened? What is this?
Speaking of another strange crime story, I've got one for you, Dylan. Do you remember the Australian children's show that was popular in the 90s, Bananas in Pajamas? Bananas in pajamas are coming down the stairs. Do you remember this?
No, I don't know. I don't think I do.
Okay, well, I had a little brother that was, I guess, born back then. So, anywho, that's how I know. Not that I was watching Bananas in Pajamas. Also, this is kind of unhinged. Who thought of a children's program where you put bananas
in your pajamas?
In pajamas.
Oh, there is literally bananas
It's
wearing
like someone
pajamas.
in a banana costume wearing pajamas. Yes.
Okay, okay.
So,
I thought it was like a pedophile show. Bananas in pajamas.
What?
Yeah, just stop. It's literal banana characters wearing pajamas.
Okay, so let's get it.
God.
So there has been this long-held rumor and speculation that the costumes from this show were stolen or kidnapped by some Russian gangsters and held for ransom.
Oh.
And now one of the stars of the show, Kenneth Radley, who played B1, or banana number 1, I suppose, finally spilled the beans on a recent podcast called The Final Encore that it wasn't just a rumor. The costumes were actually banana napped and held for ransom.
What? You couldn't just make another set? I mean, somebody had to make the first set.
So they were, I guess the cast of the show were making an overseas promotional trip overseas. And, they would get photos of these bananas in high-profile places like the White House, in Europe, whatever. And they took the suits to Moscow, and the suits were stolen, and there was a ransom note given to the marketing chief of the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, demanding 100,000 Australian dollars, which is about 65,000 American dollars, for the return of these suits.
Or you'll never see the bananas again.
And so apparently it was the Russian mafia stole the banana suits.
Oh.
Well, of course, the head of ABC in Australia said, well, we're not going to give them $100,000. How much do they cost to replace? And they were about $20,000 to make.
Oh.
So they were like, we'll just not, we're not going to do this. So Radley claims the network told this marketing chief, you can offer the gangsters $20,000, but not a penny more. And if they decline this offer, they'll just abandon the suits and they'll make new ones.
Oh, okay. I wonder if the gangsters took that. And see, now this is a big controversy because is it even the original suits or is it a new set? We don't know.
So now these bananas are in some gulag in Russia.
Yeah.
Being tortured. What do you know?
No, people's been assassinated by 2 bananas. Talking about,
it's just such a ridiculous story.
It is.
We had to talk about it.
I gotta say, Russian gangsters do oddball stuff. They'll do anything. They don't give a damn.
I stole your borscht. Bring me your borscht. I have to say, Russian cuisine doesn't sound that appealing.
No, it's like they're mad at themselves with the food.
It reminds me of my dad.
It's like you don't want to enjoy it.
My dad, I've never met somebody who's like punishing themselves with what they eat.
Yeah.
But my dad does. He like goes out of his way to avoid any kind of flavor or pleasure.
Yeah.
He'll be like, hey, I made you a salad and it's basically just toppings for a burger.
Yes, iceberg lettuce and a tomato and a cucumber.
If you're sassy. And don't you ask for anything but ranch dressing because that's all he's got.
No. And look, I don't claim to know a whole lot about Russian cuisine, and I don't want to piss anybody off. I gotta say, stroganoff.
I don't think people in Russia are going to get mad if you say that their cuisine's not that appealing.
And I honestly think beef stroganoff is really good from scratch. Right? Isn't that Russian? Ain't it? And they like probably beets and turnips and shit.
They like a lot of beets.
Well, that's all they can grow there. I mean, it's like, I don't know.
And cabbage.
Oh, okay. Okay. A lot of the root vegetables.
And you get some dumplings in there.
You get some, like stews and shit, right? Like some Russian soups. With bread.
You can get some dumplings stuffed with cheese, mashed potatoes, cabbage, meat, and hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, okay. I like all those things.
Vareniki? I don't know.
Yeah.
You can get you some chicken Kiev, which is basically just like a breaded chicken breast.
Except it's in Kiev.
I guess.
Okay.
Look, I'm not breaking down any doors to eat this Russian food. I like cabbage. I like beets as much as the next person, but I don't want to eat like a cold beet soup.
Ooh, cold. I'm not up for any. I don't do the cold soups.
I'm just saying none of it is that appealing to me. I'm not going to Russia for the food.
No, but I would like to visit.
I would like to visit.
I think it's an amazing culture.
The art. I mean, it just looks beautiful. Like the architecture.
Yeah.
It's pretty,
very storied history.
Pretty cool.
You know.
Yeah, I know. We learn European history and whatever, but I don't feel like they dive too much into Russian history, and it's very fascinating.
Asian history, amazing.
It really is.
China?
Yes.
My God, are you kidding me?
I would love to take
Japan?
like an Asian-focused history class.
Yeah.
Samurais.
Well, I'm just saying there's been so much amazing stuff.
What was the show? You were Shogun.
Shogun.
You were
on
really
FX.
into that show for a minute.
It's really good because I'm kind of fascinated by that period in Chinese and Japanese history.
What period is that?
It's a long time ago.
What?
The same period that the movie The Last Samurai with little Tom Cruise in it is about. They bring over a Civil War soldier to teach them tactics. They're soldiers.
So would that be like the 1800s?
Yeah, I think
he's
so.
a Civil War soldier?
Yeah, something like that. It's around that time.
Oh, my God.
It's like on the edge of when they were stopping. The samurais didn't matter as much because they're starting to get cannons, small cannons, and firearms on the field.
One of my all-time favorite films is Bernardo Bertolucci, which I just like him as a director. His movies have such a dreamy quality to them. Is The Last Emperor.
Ah, man, that's a great movie.
Yeah, it's
really good
it's
movie.
so beautifully shot, and the use of color. I mean, just aesthetically, like cinematically, it's such a gorgeous film. But it's also a very interesting part of Chinese history.
Yeah, it's true.
What is it? The Forbidden City.
Yeah, where the last emperor was kind of imprisoned, if
and then
you will.
bringing you into like the World War and his involvement with Japan. I don't know. It's a great movie. I highly recommend it. So anyway, that has nothing to do with bananas and pajamas. Let's move on to our next news story, Dylan. This has been a huge story this week. And I'm talking about United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, who was fatally shot in Manhattan early Wednesday morning in what police said appears to be a brazen, targeted attack on the insurance CEO.
This was an assassination.
Now, Dylan, I can't say that this surprises me. I'm actually more surprised that this hasn't happened before.
Have you seen the video?
No.
There's CCTV video footage of the shooting.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, the guy walks by. He's on his way to an investor meeting.
Yes.
That they insisted on having in person, right? Not Zoom, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get together. We're going to talk about our record profits. We're going to talk about how we can squeeze just a few more dimes out of not paying out claims to people, right? Because it's a well-known fact that it's almost a joke people make. I pay all these insurance premiums, but if I ever need it, they're going to try their best to screw me out of paying me money or paying for it, and which is a ridiculous. I have issues with for-profit healthcare.
I agree.
Certainly big segments of healthcare. I think we should have national coverage supplemented by private insurers.
Here's what I think.
Could agree.
That's going to fix some shit. We need a standardized, like itemized list of services that are priced, that are just priced. So that no matter where you go in the country, if you're in Maine, you're in Kansas, you're in Florida, it doesn't matter, and you go get an MRI, it is going to cost you X amount of money.
Yeah. Not 3,000
one
one place.
Yeah, and 10,000 here.
yeah.
And yeah.
Right.
I think we need a set price list. We need a fixed price menu on goods and services when it comes to healthcare.
Well, here's the thing. How can you justify, here's this machine, and it's a big fancy machine. I get that. It probably costs, who knows, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
But you're definitely recouping your costs.
But how in the world can you charge me $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 to be in this machine for fucking 8 minutes? You know what I'm saying? It's the pricing. It's one thing in healthcare they don't talk about. And I know Discord Tish, she's in healthcare. And there's plenty of people connected to healthcare. Your ex is in healthcare. All these caring people doing this amazing work in healthcare. And they do deserve to be paid because a lot of highly skilled, and they devote many years of their lives to becoming, to this, working up to this expert level. That's not so much what I'm talking. It's the administrative bullshit, once again, that's driving the cost through the roof. And when you have it on the private side and it's a publicly traded company, the only thing, your only motive is increased growth annually, every year on year on year. Never stops. If growth stops, it's a problem, right? If the profits stop going up, it's a problem for the shareholders. And that's just doesn't work in my mind for healthcare.
That's why they want to keep us unhealthy.
Because you can't squeeze that turnip to get the blood, or the blood out of the stone, or whatever the saying is, when it comes to people's health. And that's why they do, I'm sorry, I'm going on tirade, but that's why they do deny the 3 words etched on the shells.
Yeah, so let's talk about this, Dylan.
At the scene.
So this guy was, I guess, the masked gunman was lying in wait outside of a Midtown hotel in Manhattan just before 6:45 a.m. on Wednesday. Thompson appeared outside the hotel, possibly to help set up for this conference that was scheduled for that day. And the gunman fired at least 3 rounds at the executive, hitting him in the back and leg. The gunman fled the scene. Thompson was transported to the Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. So it's been a, premeditated, pre-planned, very targeted attack. And then you told me earlier today that these 3 bullet casings had words written on them. Now,
Etched.
tell
on
us.
Deny. What was it? Oh, okay. I got it. Deny, defend, depose were the 3 words etched on the 3 separate casings.
Which is a phrase that describes a purported insurance industry strategy for rejecting claims.
Yes. And as soon as I saw this shocking assassination is what it was. It was definitely, the intent was to wait for this man and to kill him with a silenced weapon, lying in wait, a masked gunman. This was my first thought. My first thought was, this is somebody who either in general morality thinks it's horrible what insurance companies do to people, or on a very personal, someone close to them, or maybe even them personally, has been denied coverage that's either made someone die or let someone continue to get way, way sicker. And boom, then I hear about the words. I'm sure of it.
So there have been 2 photos released depicting this person of interest in the Thompson shooting. 2 photos that were posted on X show a smiling man wearing a brown jacket with the hood up, no face mask. His apparel appears to be different from that seen worn by him previously in some of the surveillance footage outside of the Hilton Hotel, and some still images from a nearby Starbucks. The images were taken from surveillance footage at the Upper West Side hostel where the man is believed to have stayed prior to the shooting. The man was last seen riding an electric bicycle into Central Park, and they are offering $10,000 for any information leading to this man's capture. And in this one picture, he looks happy as hell. He's smiling.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they had a clear shot of his face. Well, not a totally clear shot, but the one image I saw, he had maybe like a bakavala. Is that how you say that?
I always call it a baklava.
Me too, but
It's got some delicious pistachios and honey. He's
the
just smothered in it.
Open-eyed,
I think we know what you're talking
mask,
about. Yeah.
the tactical gear-looking thing. But yeah, so they have a shot of almost his whole face. Now, I'm curious if, and here's the thing about it, and me and Heather's discussed this before. When you do things like this, when you're profit-driven, bottom line, you look for growth segments like if we cover less people or we cover less disease, we're going to make more profits next year. That's just really a toxic mindset. And you're going to hurt people. You're going to harm families.
Well, like I said, I'm not celebrating this at all. It's not okay, but I'm not surprised by it. And like I said, I guess what's more shocking to me is that this hasn't happened before.
No, and that's honestly...
You're pushing people. We're at like a breaking point, like the boiling point right here in our society where people are so strained financially, where, people who 2-3 years ago were middle class, were doing okay, had savings, could afford groceries, could afford utilities. People are struggling. I know people who make two working adult people who make good money, like what I would consider like, wow, y'all are doing the damn thing, talking about how they can barely afford to keep themselves afloat.
Right.
And if you factor in all of the issues that we're having right now with our economy and whatnot, stagnant wages, all that shit, and you factor in some person ends up getting some sort of catastrophic medical situation, they get cancer, they are out of work because they've fucked up their back and have to have surgery, whatever. It can throw people into a tailspin. They can lose everything.
Yeah, they can. And then the only thing they have during that moment of true despair.
Well, at least I have insurance.
I've had insurance. I've diligently paid all this time, and I've never used it. Now I finally need it. and to them be stonewalled and turned away and shit on basically by the same insurance company, that's a lot. That is a lot. I mean, you're playing with fire.
You are. I mean, you just can't keep shitting on people. People can't, our society, you can't just be shit on everywhere you turn by every corporation, every company, your job, your landlord, your mortgage company, your bank, your insurance company, your boss. I mean, it's like you can't, you know, you go to the grocery store and you're paying $400 for what would have cost you $120 2 years ago. You can't keep putting this kind of pressure on people and basically fucking people at every opportunity and not have something like this happen.
No,
in my opinion,
it's too mean. The different kinds of pressure, they all interact in a way that is very dangerous.
Well, they're going to converge.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that this needs to happen, but I feel like if things keep heading down this path, you're going to see more of this type of thing. It's going to turn into fucking French Revolution off with their heads, where they're beheading billionaires, you know, metaphorically speaking, in the streets because people are just sick of the shit. We're sick of being exploited, our labor, our lives, to help further the wealth of a few.
Well, when you have these stock buyback programs where they spend billions of dollars to artificially inflate their stock their stock values, but then wages are flat, wages are stagnant, benefits have been eroded to the point where if you have a 401k where your company matches up to 6 or 8%, that's about as good as your benefits get for retirement nowadays.
Let's talk about. I mean, and I know the cost of things, they do increase over time, but can we just talk about something for a moment and then we'll get off our soapbox? If you listen, we climb up on it quite often. College costs, for example. Now, I think most of us are under the impression that if you choose to go to a technical school or like a 2-year college, that is supposed to be affordable, right?
Community college I thought
that's supposed to be affordable for your family.
Yeah.
I am enrolled for spring semester. I'm going to start my next chapter, Dylan. I'm really excited about it.
I can't wait.
You guys, I guess I should announce it now. I'm like really stoked about it. I have a wonderful opportunity to live my dream. I am going to funeral school starting in January.
Dude.
I know. And then I found out today, like I'm already 40, like on my transfer, I'm like 40% through with the program. So I don't have that much to do.
So you got all your gen ed basically wrapped up.
I'm super stoked. This is my dream. So, I guess moving along from that, my point is, you think going to community college is like, okay, this is affordable. This is something families can afford.
You spent a couple $1,000s a semester.
You can't afford to send your kids to a 4-year school, but maybe you can send them to a 2-year school and it won't be that bad. You can pay out of pocket. The cost of even a community college right now blows my mind. The cost for my community college program for this spring semester is what I paid to go to a 4-year school. It's the same tuition costs I paid for my 4-year tuition at a school. And
at a reputable school.
Yes, I realize it's been, I went to college in the 1800s, but I just feel like, how has costs increased that much? I mean, I remember friends going to community college and the tuition was like less than $1,000
right
for school. And now you're looking at $5,000 or $6,000 for a semester, plus the $1,500 you need to pay for your books.
The books. That's such a...
So in the end, you're getting out with what? Maybe $6,500 a semester? That's $13,000 a year for your child to go to a community college. If you're a working adult trying to go back and do a career change, I mean, that's just not affordable for anybody.
Right. And you factor all this other stuff, inflation, stagnant wages, blah, this and that. How has anyone ever, some people are, you just need to work harder.
So even the cost of a 2-year degree, a technical degree, is a fortune now. I mean, I'm sorry, but I think $13,000 is ridiculous. I think that most families can't afford that. And thankfully, there are financial aid programs and Pell Grants and things that do help and oftentimes, subsidize these costs for families. But I know if I had to fork out 13 grand right now for my kid to go to nursing school or something,
I couldn't do it.
I would be like, what the hell? I can't afford to pay $1,500 a month to send you to college. I mean, to me, that kind of money is what you would send to a 4-year public university.
A reputable one.
I mean, what the hell?
Not a party school.
It's just really expensive. Everything's so expensive.
You know, I've never understood about the books. The textbooks. This has been such a big scam for so many years. How do you justify compiling? I know you got a bunch of technical information and blah, this and that, but in this day and age of the internet and computers,
and most of it's online textbooks. You're getting a digital copy. You're not even getting an actual hardcover book in your hand.
But even when
many of the classes,
even when it was an actual book, how can you justify $300 and $400 and $500 for a fucking book? It's been a scam the whole time.
And then they change it from like semester to semester, so you can't even get a used book.
Yeah,
from someone.
I mean, it's obvious cash grab. It's such bullshit.
I don't know.
This is not the things a healthy society does that wants to continue to have upward mobility for their citizens. It really isn't.
Agreed.
I'm gonna have to.
So the crime here is how we're all getting fucked. Okay.
But that was, I gotta say, you'll have to check that video out. It's pretty startling.
Oh, I don't tend to like.
I didn't see through the actual shot, but I mean, it's pretty chilling.
We got to talk about this. And look, we got a lot of folks in Florida. I love y'all. I want to come visit.
I like Florida.
Let me stay in your guest room. I could use a vacation. But why is this one of the most Florida stories I've heard in a minute? A Florida teacher was taken into custody after he was found naked inside an elementary school classroom.
This is a Florida man.
It is a Florida man. So he is actually a Florida man. Joe Urias was arrested on charges of lewd and lascivious behavior, burglary of an unoccupied structure, marijuana possession, and battery on an officer, according to an arrest affidavit. He is yet to be formally charged. Port St. Lucie police were called to the Windmill Point Elementary School around 9:30. Is it Port St. Lucie? I always get confused. I think it's Port St. Lucie. I don't know. So they're called out to Windmill Point Elementary School. This was on Thursday, November 28th. That was Thanksgiving. They're called out to this elementary school around 9:30 p.m. when a deputy spotted this guy, Joe, 34, naked in one of the classrooms. So when the male saw the sheriff's deputy, he quickly clothed himself and began to run toward the back of the building before making his way outdoors. The sheriff's deputy tried to take him into custody, and Urias allegedly punched the deputy in the face. So the deputy was able to gain control of the male and wait for backup to arrive. Several other officers made it to the scene, and they aided in placing this man in handcuffs. In a classroom, officers discovered his laptop, food, clothing, as well as sex toys, and less than 20 grams of marijuana in a clear plastic container. So he told officers that he was experiencing homelessness and had gained entry to the classroom through an unlocked window. If I'm an unhoused person, I'm not sure sex toys is going to be one of my top priorities. Like of your
stuff you're carrying around. Yeah.
For your portable go-to bag, right? I mean, I'm going to need my toothbrush and things. I'm not sure sex toys is practical.
Look, okay. Look, hear me out. If I did have the sex toys in my bundle, right? In my handkerchief on the stick, my hobo pack.
I'm sorry, but if I'm hungry and cold and I don't have a place to sleep, I don't know if I don't think I'm going to be horny.
But here's the thing. That's my point. Even if I was horny earlier in the day.
Oh, God.
Listen.
Okay.
And now I've found myself having to seek shelter in a classroom, in an elementary school. This is not a very sexy setting. Okay, the mood's not in me anymore when I'm looking at little Timmy's freaking, hand traced turkey on the wall.
Let's be honest.
Okay,
schools always have that very specific smell.
Yes,
like my mom taught first grade. I know what a damn elementary school classroom smells
It's not
like.
sexy.
Okay, and it does not smell great.
No.
And it's germy.
It's kind of gross.
The desks are germy. The last thing I'm going to want to do is place my sex toys out on a school desk where snotty little bacteria, viral infected children are wiping their snotty little boogers and sticking their gum under the desks.
I think this guy was a weirdo.
I think this guy's some kind of deviant.
I think he's a deviant, and I think the fact he broke into the school with the intention of using sex toys. Does that make sense?
What was he even thinking? I think there's more at play here.
No, there's definitely more at play. He's a piece of shit.
Well, he is currently being held on a $31,000 bond at the
Unhoused
jail.
piece of shit.
But I'm interested because it said that charges. Well, no, I guess he was arrested. Okay. Well, I guess he's yet to be formally charged.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get a follow-up on that story. And
Do
again,
we need one? Do we need one?
And when you apologize to people from Florida about stories like this, they know it. They know it. They know about Florida Man. And they say,
this is all the more reason why I need to come visit. So, like I said, if you have a bedroom, a guest house, a front yard,
yeah,
a camper on your property, whatever, I'll come sleep in my car in your garage. I just need a vacation, and Florida sounds lovely. And also, maybe we can seek out some Florida adventures. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, you could show us around. We could have a cold one. Hit us up on mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com.
Maybe we will see a horny person with their sex toys inside an elementary school classroom.
And I can tell you some stories about North Carolina Man.
Well,
hey, we got our share of dumbasses up here.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you right now, some of the dumbasses that are really pissing me off.
You know the reason for Florida Man, right?
Why?
You know the reason.
Well, you've talked about the public information access. Yes.
They have some of the most open, transparent, fully divulged public information records in the country.
Right.
And that's why we get these every single salacious detail of these weird crimes. Because this shit happens everywhere.
So something that is really bothering me, Dylan, is I've seen so much, we can say misinformation, and people are like, that ain't even a thing. Okay, just flat out fucking lies then. That people are making these social media videos and content talking about Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina, and they are embellishing it so much. An already terrible situation, tragic situation. I mean, it's fucking bad there. You don't need to lie about it.
It's still bad.
And then they just get on there and make up all this shit that is not true. And it's just making me so fucking mad when I see there's 500, like, for example, there's 500 missing people. And they're not talking about it. They, I guess, meaning the news.
The government.
Mainstream media is lying to you. And I'm like, do you not realize in 2024, you don't have to have mainstream media because everybody's got an iPhone and everybody's a citizen journalist. And if there were really 500 missing people, where are their families? Where are their friends? Because surely someone would be advocating for, hey, my granny's missing. I haven't seen my neighbor since Helene hit.
Right.
So you're just taking this already bad situation and exploiting it, I guess, to get views or likes or to make your little TikTok money or whatever. And it's making me so fucking mad. And what's even worse are how many dumbasses out there are believing it and will argue with you tooth and nail.
Right.
That there really are just 500 people in the river.
Yeah. Even though they have no idea, have never been to the place, they know nothing about it. And while you're talking about that,
there are people living in tents right now, and it's freezing cold outside, and that's how they're going to spend their fucking December and January and February, are in these shitty tents without heat.
Right. And there's 13,000 people in the area who are heading into Christmas with no job. And not only they're not laid off, the place they work doesn't exist anymore.
They just got like drinkable water.
I mean, shit.
So restaurants are just like able to now function with clean water.
Right. I mean, and the seasonal workers.
And I mentioned restaurants because that area depends so much on hospitality, tourism, and the restaurant industry.
Yeah. And it's so bad They're afraid that many of the seasonal workers that are, operate in this huge segment of the local economy, hospitality and tourism, are going to be forced to move away, and there'll literally be no one willing to do that type of job when the job is needed again to jumpstart the local economy. I mean, this is a huge crisis. They were first in the state in unemployment, and overnight they went to last in the state. They went from below right around 2%, maybe 2.2% unemployment. Now it's like 8.6%. That might not. Some people are like,
no, that's a huge number.
That's a huge number to happen in a very short amount of time.
And in a place the size of Asheville, because it's not that big.
It's not that big, and there's not a whole lot of opportunity.
So you're telling me if there are 500 missing people, and I love how it's 500. It's such a specific even number. I love that, but I've also heard it's 700, and then somebody said there were 10,000.
It's a 1 million.
And people just eat that shit up with a spoon. I mean, they will be like they will die on that hill that's the truth.
And so while you're talking about this nonsense, there
are people who are suffering.
There's really bad things happening there that will continue to happen for weeks and months. And maybe even years.
Who knows how long it will take?
Right.
The estimate's what, $5 billion is needed to repair roads?
Yeah.
That have been washed out in the area, destroyed, bridges, what have you?
Yeah, but I'm glad Biden was over in Angola, Africa, just the other day, offering up $1 billion to them. Well, and nothing against Angola, Africa, but they need a little bit of help up there in Western North Carolina.
Well, again, I think
in Florida.
It boils down to what we were just talking about, and we try not to get too political on the show because the truth is I think they're all pieces of shit, and in the end we all lose because they don't really care about us at all, right? That's why we're in this situation. That's why somebody's shooting a CEO of a insurance company, because we have reached this point where when are you going to care about us, the American people?
Right. And that was not for one party or against. If I don't care who,
I'm against all of them.
I don't care what president was in power. If they did that while there's people I literally know
who've lost their businesses,
who have
lost
nothing,
their homes,
and they have to apply for aid, and people are getting denied.
Yeah,
are you fucking kidding me? It's disgusting, and that's our tax money being done like that. They won't send it to your neighbor, but they'll send it to some place you've never heard of. I don't get it.
Well, I guess I just want to say to folks, when you follow certain creators and they're feeding you this line of garbage, try to have some common sense. Because if there were really 500 missing people, dead, piled under debris, just bodies everywhere,
right?
You would know. I mean, I've heard that, the police aren't releasing the names until they find the people. And I'm like, that makes no sense, because when people go missing, they release the names and they're still missing and we haven't found them. If it was a regular missing person, so what's the difference?
Once they notify the family.
And to what benefit are they lying about what actually happened?
And no matter what the police or local government or anybody, state government or anybody or federal government was saying or doing, they could not shut up friends, family, and relatives.
No, and you can't tell me that of the multiple news publications that are independently owned in the region that are not part of mainstream media, that those journalists, people I know that work at those, do you think for 1 minute they're going to sit on that story? Because that's a huge breaking news story, and they are going to want to get that out because, you know what, that could get you a Pulitzer or something, that kind of corruption and cover up. I just don't understand, like, why do people choose to just shut their brains off and just mindlessly will believe anything but the truth in 2024?
I don't know.
But I mean, I just going into this cold, like, because we've been experiencing cold snap. I mean, it's miserable. I don't like cold weather at all. And just thinking about these 4 people who don't have anything.
They're getting snow.
These victims, these hurricane victims who are living in tents. It's snowing. You know, maybe they have a generator, maybe they don't. Going into this cold weather, I mean, it's so heartbreaking.
They're talking about up to a foot of snow could hit the area in the next week or two.
It's just really sad.
And people's out here talking about bullshit. All right, so this was would you call this a true crime holiday casserole?
It's just like a true crime holiday rant session.
You got that hollandaise sauce on
Rants
it.
and raves.
Got that hollandaise sauce on it.
You.
Hey, you wish you could have some of this sauce. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody wants something creamy, Dylan.
I'll pour it all.
You with your adjectives.
What? Yeah.
Would you stop?
I didn't even say anything.
Why don't you just start a phone sex line? And people can call and you can just talk crazy to them.
I'll be like, hello. You want to do a segment?
No, I
Yeah.
don't.
You good? Go ahead.
No, I hear it enough. I'm good. Thanks.
No, they want to hear a song.
They don't. If they do, they can call your phone sex line.
This will be like a bit we did years ago.
No,
remember?
no, we're not doing
when
it.
you were Joe and I was the sexy redhead with the big tits. You remember, don't you? You remember?
I'm gonna say I don't.
You do
I don't know
remember. It's like the Shoney's buffet. And
I
I was,
don't know what you're talking
I
about.
was topping off your sweet tea.
People don't know what they're gonna think this is some weird game we play.
Oh, a long time super fans know the episode.
Okay, well
was
that's
one of the funniest bits we ever did.
okay. Let's move on. Let's move on to saying goodbye, Dylan. We've ranted. We've
All right.
raved.
All right.
We've cussed Susan Smith.
Yeah, if you unwrap this present, you're welcome.
Okay.
You weren't expecting it.
Please stop.
I mean, okay.
Just
All right.
just quit
All right.
for just like a minute. Just long enough to say goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.